Hello friends, let us now learn about functional endoscopic sinus surgery. In functional endoscopic sinus surgery, what are the indications? First, we have nasal indications. Nasal indications include inflammation of sinus or any sinusitis. We do functional endoscopic sinus surgery. Polyp removal, or if there is mucocele of frontal or ethmoidal sinus, or in choanal atresia repair. So what are the nasal indications? One, sinusitis, then polyp removal, then mucocele of frontal and ethmoidal sinus, choanal atresia. It can also be used in septoplasty, and it is also used in foreign body removal. So the main indications of nasal indications are inflammation of sinuses like sinusitis, polyp removal, mucocele of frontal sinus, ethmoidal sinus, and we have choanal atresia repair. Then there is septoplasty and foreign body removal. Then what about the other indications? If you see other indications, one, we have orbital conditions. Orbital conditions like you have orbital decompression can be done, optic nerve decompression, and in blowout fractures, blowout orbit fractures of orbit. Okay, orbital conditions like orbital decompression, optic nerve decompression, blowout of orbit, and also it is also used in drainage of periorbital sinus, and also in dacrocystorhinostomy we use this functional endoscopic sinus surgery. So functional endoscopic sinus surgery can be used for orbital complications like orbital decompression, optic nerve decompression, blowout of orbit, drainage of periorbital abscess, and dacrocystorhinostomy. It is also seen in CSF leak, and it is also seen in pituitary surgery also. It is also seen in pituitary surgery also. So it is also seen in pituitary surgery also we can do. That is transsphenoidal hypophyseectomy. So let us see all the indications. First, we have nasal indications. Nasal indications like sinusitis, polyp removal, mucocele, choanal atresia repair, and then septoplasty for foreign body removal. So they are sinusitis, polyp removal, for mucocele of frontal and ethmoidal sinus, choanal atresia repair, and septoplasty and foreign body removal. Then other indications like orbital indications like orbital decompression, optic nerve decompression, blowout of orbit, drainage of periorbital abscess, and dacrocystostomy. Then we have CSF leak and pituitary surgery also. We can do this functional endoscopic sinus surgery. Now, after indications, we have nasal endoscope. The nasal endoscope which we have, it can be of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, and 70 degrees. So this will mainly access the flow tract and the ostia. It will access the outflow tract and the ostia of the sinuses. Okay, now what are the principles? First and foremost, you will have to find the site of the sinusitis should be found. Second, you will have to see the direction of clearance. Direction of mucociliary clearance should be seen. Third, whether there is there any mucosal pathology which is present. These three are the things which we should see in functional endoscopic sinus surgery. We have seen the indications. Now, what are the contraindications of functional endoscopic sinus surgery? These are any intracranial complications. Any intracranial complications of sinusitis, or if there is involvement of lateral wall and the floor of the maxillary antrum, or if the pathology is localized to the lateral recess of the frontal sinus. So if there is any intracranial complications of sinusitis, involvement of lateral floor and wall of the maxillary antrum, involvement of lateral floor and wall of the maxillary antrum, or if there is pathology in the lateral recess of the frontal sinus. In these conditions, the intracranial complication, in these conditions, functional endoscopic sinus surgery is contraindicated. What are the conditions? Intracranial complication of sinusitis, involvement of lateral wall and the floor of the maxillary antrum, and also pathology localized to the lateral recess of the frontal sinus. Next. What are the steps? First and foremost, you should remove the uncinate process. That is called as uncinectomy. Uncinectomy or removal of uncinate process is done using Blakesley forceps. It is done using Blakesley forceps. Second, you should do the infundibulectomy. You should expose the ethmoidal infundibulum, and this is called as infundibulectomy is done, which is the second step. First step, you will do uncinectomy, remove the uncinate process using Blakesley forceps. Second step, you will expose the ethmoidal infundibulum and do infundibulectomy, and then once you do infundibulectomy, you will see the anterior ethmoidal disease. If there is any anterior ethmoidal disease, then you will have to clear the disease and do anterior ethmoidectomy if necessary. If there is, and you will see posterior ethmoidal cells also, then you will do posterior ethmoidectomy is done. So you will do anterior ethmoidal disease. If there is anterior ethmoidal disease, you will do anterior ethmoidectomy. If posterior ethmoidal disease is there, then you do posterior ethmoidectomy. Now you will have to widen the ostia. Once you widen the ostia, you can of the maxillary sinus, you will be able to visualize the maxillary sinus, and this is done by this is called as middle meatal antrostomy, where the opening of the maxillary sinus has been widened, and you will see the maxillary sinus. So based on the disease, you will do the things. So these are the things. First, you will do uncinectomy. Second, infundibulectomy. Third, anterior and posterior ethmoidal disease clearance. Fourth, widen the ostia and go to the maxillary sinus, and then you do the maxillary issue. You will deal with maxillary issue. Now, what about the complications? What are the complications? In the complications, we have orbital complications are present. You have periorbital ecchymosis can develop, and there can be emphysema can develop. Sometimes optic nerve injury can occur, and also there can be intracranial injury like CSF leak can develop, and carotid artery injury can also develop. Cranial nerve 4, 5, 6 injury can develop. Okay, this can also cause hemorrhage from the sphenoparietal and ethmoidal artery can occur, and there can be injury to the nasolacrimal duct, and this can result in synechiae formation can be seen, or this can also result in rhinorrhea and anosmia. So what are the complete complications? One, orbital complications like periorbital ecchymosis, emphysema, optic nerve injury, and intracranial injuries like CSF leak. Carotid artery injury like cranial nerve 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th injury, and we have hemorrhage from sphenopalatine and ethmoidal artery, and we also have injury to the nasolacrimal duct, rhinorrhea, injury to the nasolacrimal duct, rhinorrhea, anosmia, and synechiae formation. Injury to the nasolacrimal duct can occur, rhinorrhea, anosmia can occur, and synechiae formation can occur. So these are the complications of functional endoscopic sinus surgery. Then one more important surgery which we have is Caldwell-Look operation. This is Caldwell-Look surgery. This Caldwell-Look surgery is mainly, what are the indications are important, that's it. Indications are if there is any foreign body in antrum, or if there is any dental cyst, foreign body in antrum, dental cyst, or presence of oroantral fistula, or if there is any fracture in the maxilla, or has an approach to maxillary artery ligation, or in ethmoids. To do a transantral ethmoidectomy, we can do this Caldwell-Look surgery. Indications are foreign body in the antrum, dental cyst, oroantral fistula, fractures of maxilla, has an approach to pterygopalatine fossa, that is maxillary artery ligation, Vidian neurectomy, and ethmoids like transantral ethmoidectomy. We do this Caldwell-Look surgery. Thank you.